Okay, so this is not just another video about The Last Jedi. I've made plenty of them. There's plenty of them on the internet. This is literally something that came across my feed when I was looking at shorts, and I decided to check it out because I've seen a lot of Mark Hamill's interviews for The Last Jedi, and I've seen the comments he's made about how he fundamentally disagrees with Rian Johnson. But this quote right here from Mark Hamill was there's an extra quote that I want to dissect here. And I'm going to play the video for you guys and then kind of give you my, it's only a minute long. It's a short, less than that even. But I'll give you my thoughts because he makes a comment that I had not thought about before. And I want to respond to that comment. So let's talk about it. Let's go ahead and get to the video here from Connor Boy Games.
Of how integral Luke is and what
Sorry about that. I had this muted. Let me
All
go
the
up
bang.
and down.
Luke to appear,
Right.
etc. What was your reaction when you finally got a chance to read this one? Were you satisfied and excited in terms of how integral Luke is and was to the story? Were you surprised by what Ryan chose to do?
Yes, I was very surprised. And I have to tell you, and I should have realized that when I read 7, I said, I love everybody's part except mine.
Yeah, and that's funny because, you know, he wasn't really in 7 except for the very, very end. And I was just thinking they were going to save his big moments for 8 and 9. I think most of us that went to go see Force Awakens, because Luke's my favorite character in Star Wars, I think we're all kind of thinking that he was going to, you know, really shine in Last Jedi. I mean, we're all expecting like Luke and Rey to team up and go take out the First Order and fight Kylo and the Knights of Ren and maybe Snoke. And there was a lot of theories. He talks about this, something like this, but we'll get to it.
And on this one, it was similar in the sense that I said to Ryan, I'm so surprised how you see Luke. I mean, there's all this conjecture. You know, I remember reading one theory that they've cloned Luke's hand and into an evil Luke. Now, what actor doesn't want to play his own evil twin?
It's a classic.
So let me address that. Some of you guys already know about this. There actually was a lot of speculation that this was planned. I actually believe I may have heard J.J. Abrams even say they talked about this, where they were going to take Luke's hand from The Empire Strikes Back, and that was going to be the beginning of the film. They were going to show his hand from that movie that got cut off in Bespin, but that wound up changing. Now, I don't know how far along they got in the story before they got there, and what Lawrence Kasdan and J.J. Abrams actually did when they changed the script, but he's right. That was a theory floating around, but that theory floating around about Luke being evil, I don't recall seeing that, except for there were people that thought that Luke was Kylo Ren. And obviously, the cast list came out and listed Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. Some of you guys that were around back then, you remember this. But what he's talking about is the idea of there being like an evil clone of Luke. Now, there have been fan fiction stories that have done this. I mean, every major piece of fiction has done the quote-unquote evil clone. You know, Superman's done it. Dragon Ball's done it with evil Goku Black. I mean, you could even go to like Rockman, Mega Man. They've done that, like with Proto Man, you know, and stuff like that. And he's his brother, but you know, he was evil in a couple of the games. And then you've got like even Captain Planet had the supposed evil twin, right? So that would have been something interesting. But look what he says right here. That's interesting.
I said, ooh, I pitched that to him. He said, no, we couldn't do anything that had been done before.
Right.
So a lot of the fan fiction stole some of the best
Damn good ideas, ruined it.
Okay, so first of all, it's funny because he's admitting that they couldn't do something that was done before, which is they couldn't copy like EU stuff or fan fiction stuff. Now, what I find hilarious about this in retrospect is that now here we are in 2023 and stuff like The Mandalorian and Filoni's projects and Thrawn, they've taken EU stuff and repurposed it and canonized it. We all know about that. A lot of the EU fans are pissed about it. Some of them are okay with it. I think they're doing it just because they are trying to not only make those fans happy, but maybe even make some money off of them. I mean, it's Disney. But one of the things that Luke says here that I thought, or Mark Hamill says, is the idea that fan fiction ruined The Last Jedi. Now, I will say this. The mystery boxes that J.J. Abrams left open in Force Awakens could definitely have caused a problem with Rian Johnson's Last Jedi. And as far as like people had this major hype in their head about what they were going to see, who was Snoke, where's Luke been, what's been going on. And Last Jedi was supposed to answer where Luke has been. And we got the answer, but we didn't like it. At least some of us didn't. So I say that to say this. One of the issues with what Mark Hamill's saying here about like Rian Johnson and the idea of fan fiction ruining The Last Jedi is, I understand that Rian Johnson did not want to repeat fan fiction. I get it. I understand wanting to do something different, but the problem is that Last Jedi was so radically different and did so much, provided so much negativity for the Luke Skywalker character, and a lot of the fans of Star Wars sort of realized, like, okay, this is not the Star Wars that we wanted, caused a big split in the fandom. But this idea that fan fiction or fan theories hurt Last Jedi is a bit hard to swallow, because Rian Johnson himself said that he started working on Last Jedi even before Force Awakens was finished. And there's been proof of this too. The fact that Poe Dameron met Rey in the theatrical, or in the actual final cut of Force Awakens, when she's taken off to go find Luke. You see Poe Dameron there, so they had to have met. But then at the end of Last Jedi, they meet. It's like Ryan didn't even watch the movie or didn't pay attention. That was weird. And also, if Ryan already started writing Episode 8 before Episode 7 had come out, which, by the way, you can blame him for that, but I think a lot of it was Disney rushing these movies out. I think that was a big issue. But they should have also had the trilogy planned out. I mean, ultimately, I blame Disney a lot too. So the bottom line is this. There was no way for Rian Johnson to have had enough time to consider alternate theories on where Luke had been if he had started writing it before Force Awakens was finished. He maybe had time before then, but how much of that time did he actually have with Mark Hamill? You see what I'm saying? And I understand Rian Johnson sitting there and trying to figure this out, but there have been multiple interviews where he has said that when he started writing Last Jedi, when he first started thinking and conceptualizing the movie, that he wanted to figure out where has Luke Skywalker been. JJ set it up to where Luke Skywalker's missing. Where has Luke been? That was the answer. And he came up with what he came up with and the reasons he did. And we've talked about it to death. But I still feel like either this conversation happened prior to Ryan even starting the script, and maybe they just met for coffee and discussed where Luke's going, or Mark Hamill's kind of mixing up like Force Awakens hype with Last Jedi hype. Either way, the situation is that the problem is that this idea of them running away from like fan fiction-y stuff, in my opinion, you have to have some of that fan service. I'm not saying the entire movie has to be member berries, but you have to have something to service the fans of these characters. And some felt they did. I didn't feel they did. I thought they assassinated Luke's character in that movie. But you have to have something for people to like, and you have to be cognizant of the choices you're going to make. And we know that Mark Hamill warned Rian Johnson numerous times, this is a bad idea to do this for Luke. I don't agree with the decision you're making. But here we have an example of Rian Johnson kind of overthinking and trying to be too cute with the story. And I've criticized him for that, respectfully so. I'm not trying to like, I know a lot of folks like to harass him and go after him on social media. I'm just saying that, and you know, I was not a fan of Last Jedi. It was a long time ago. I was not a fan of it, and I thought that it really did a lot of damage to the Star Wars brand. When you look back on it, I think it really made everybody cynical of Disney, although it was Disney's fault. But I think they should have thought a bit more about it and said, okay, we can have Luke be a squashbuckling hero. We can have Luke and Rey, like, you know, going off to fight the First Order. We can have Luke training Rey like Yoda did Luke, because, you know, like Lucas said, it's poetry, they rhyme, right? You don't have to overthink everything. You know, I think that the big problem with Last Jedi's writing, just the writing, is that they overthought everything, and yet they underthought so many other things. What do you think? Do you think that there's validity to this? Let me know, and we'll talk soon. Take care.